Incredible transformation. Overworked Maid discovers heartwarming breakfast surprise from CEO after daring encounter. Maria's heart raced as she entered the high-rise hotel, the elegant lobby bustling with guests, their polished shoes tapping on marble floors. The glittering chandeliers above cast a warm glow, but beneath that glamour lay Maria's reality, a world where she toiled tirelessly to give her son Leo a better life. At just 30, she sacrificed her dreams, her desires concealed like her worn-out shoes hidden beneath her uniform. Yet, despite the grueling nature of her job, Maria was a beacon of kindness, always lending a helping hand to the other housekeepers, pulling together like a family stitched by shared struggles. That it was an ordinary morning when her world collided unexpectedly with Alan, the hotel's wealthy CEO. Towering and aloof, his eyes were lost in the future he was crafting while oblivious to the lives he impacted. Maria felt small, just a cog in his corporate machine, her frustration simmering like the coffee she brewed for the staff room. As fate would have it, a mishap unraveled amidst the bustling chaos. An errant cart flipped, sending a stack of plush towels cascading to the floor. Maria leaped into action, gathering them swiftly, showcasing gritty determination. Alan watched from the corner of his eye, a flicker of realization stirring within him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by an impulse long buried, Alan decided he would treat Maria to a surprise breakfast, hoping to bridge the yawning gap between their worlds. He arranged a small gathering, intending to honor her unyielding spirit and monumental effort. However, news of Alan's gesture reached Maria's co-workers, who exchanged skeptical glances, casting whispers like shadows over the bright potential of goodwill. Fear bubbled within Maria's heart. Would they think she'd sold out? Was she worthy of his acknowledgement? As she stood on the precipice of this unexpected connection, doubts began to swirl. Would Alan's recognition, the first light in her dim world, be a source of pride or a point of contention among her peers? The boundaries of status blurred, leaving her torn as preconceived notions about privilege and labor mingled in the air like unwelcomed guests. Misunderstandings prickled the atmosphere, yet with each whispered word of suspicion, a flame flickered within Maria. Could empathy bridge the chasm? Or would it simply engulf them both in turmoil? As tension mounted and their lives intertwined, Maria's hope began to sparkle just as doubt loomed heavy. But just as Maria took a deep breath, ready to embrace a chance of connection, life threw an unpredictable twist their way that threatened to dismantle everything. Shadows of worry crept in, forcing her to question if pursuing her aspirations meant losing herself, and whether Alan could find the courage to challenge the very system he benefited from. The stakes were rising. A ticking clock of inevitability echoed in the hotel's grand hall. Their futures hung in the balance, filled with the promise of transformation or the threat of severance. Maria stood at the threshold of the hotel cafe, her heart a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The tables were adorned with fresh flowers, the aroma of eggs and coffee wafted through the air. But Maria couldn't shake off the gnawing doubt. Would stepping into this new world mean leaving her old one behind? As she stepped inside, her eyes wandered to the long table where Alan sat, looking every bit the part of a powerful CEO. His presence was magnetic, drawing in attention from not just employees, but guests who looked on with curiosity. She felt the weight of her peers' eyes on her, scrutinizing her every move. Would they see a traitor? Maria, over here, Alan called, his warm smile a stark contrast to the mounting anxiety in her chest. She took a hesitant step toward him, the noise of the cafe fading into a distant hum. Each footfall felt like an echoing drum, a signal that she was crossing into unfamiliar territory. Alan rose to welcome her, his hand extended in what felt like an invitation, not just to breakfast but to a different way of life. "I'm so glad you could come," he said, his voice more personal than professional. "Thank you for having me," Maria replied softly, her voice almost drowned out by the clattering of dishes around her. As she sat down, the ambience shifted. The other employees exchanged glances filled with uncertainty. She could feel the judgment flooding toward her, hot and relentless. Alan chatted lightly about the hotel's latest renovations, but she struggled to focus. Her thoughts spiraled. They were comfortable friends in a world that seemed to grow dimmer by the second. Would they believe her story? Could she find her voice in a room filled with whispers? Did you know I started as an intern in hospitality? Alan continued, but Maria only caught snippets, her mind racing. A little background can change everything, he said, looking directly into her eyes. Sometimes all it takes is a chance to shine. His words struck a chord deep within her. Could she dare to dream like that? Could she rise beyond her current station? Trying to push the burden of others' opinions aside, she mustered the courage to speak. I do believe in second chances, she said, her voice gaining steadiness. Every day I try to do my best for my son. Alan nodded, clearly appreciating her honesty. For a moment there was no divide. Just two people sharing their truths. But then the chatter of the cafe swelled, breaking their bubble. Maria's heart lurched as she caught snippets of hushed conversations among her coworkers. Look at her, she thinks she is special now. The words sliced through the air like a cold wind, freezing her moment of warmth with Alan. Maria's fists clenched under the table. How could they judge her for wanting more? She was not selling out. She was simply trying to carve a space for herself. Alan noticed her change in demeanor. Are you okay? He asked, concern knitting his brows. Just I worry, she admitted, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear, feeling exposed. I worry what they think. Don't let that weigh you down, he encouraged, leaning in slightly. Change often comes with resistance. But those who care will see your heart. As Alan's words settled in, a mix of resolve and vulnerability ignited inside her. For the first time, she felt the flicker of empowerment pushing against her fear. Maybe it was okay to want more for herself and her son. But just as she opened her mouth to confess her deepest aspirations, a loud crash erupted from the back of the cafe. Chairs toppled, followed by startled gasps and hurried footsteps. Maria turned just in time to see one of her colleagues struggling to help an older guest who had collapsed to the floor. Her instincts kicked in. She leaped up from the table. I can help, she shouted, rushing toward the chaos, fear replaced by purpose. Alan followed her, his presence strong and reassuring. Let us see what we can do, he said, offering solidarity. With her heart racing but clarity piercing through the panic, Maria realized that sometimes one chance leads to another. As she reached the guest, she could feel Alan at her side, a beacon as they navigated this unexpected crisis. What would this moment reveal about their connection? And could a single act of courage redirect their lives forever? Maria knelt beside the older guest, her breaths quickening as she assessed the man's condition. He lay sprawled on the floor, his face pale, eyes fluttering. Gently, she checked for a pulse, feeling the weak thump against her fingertips. He's alive. Somebody call for help, she shouted, urgency coursing through her body. Alan moved swiftly, his phone already in hand. I'm on it, he said, his voice professional but tinged with concern. As he dialed, Maria focused on calming the crowd that was starting to gather. Everyone, please. Give him space, she urged, feeling the eyes of her colleagues on her with a mix of respect and shock. She leaned closer to the man, speaking softly. Sir, can you hear me? Help is coming. His gaze flickered back to her, and she recognized the spark of recognition in his eyes, a flicker of relief. Then she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Alan, crouching beside her. You're doing great. Stay with him, he said, and there was something in his voice, a deep admiration that warmed her as the chaos wrapped around them. Moments felt like lifetimes as they waited for the paramedics. Maria kept talking to the man, offering small reassurances, watching the tension gradually ease from his furrowed brow. You're going to be just fine. You're not alone, she promised, sending her own silent prayers into the air. When the paramedics finally arrived, they took over with professional efficiency, lifting the man onto a stretcher. As they began to work, Maria stood back, her heart racing. She felt a surge of achievement mixed with fear. She had acted when it mattered. Yet there was also a nagging discomfort. Would her colleagues acknowledge her for stepping into the fray? Or would they still see her as an outsider? As if sensing her inner turmoil, Alan gently placed a hand on her back, a comforting weight that grounded her. "You were incredible," he said, his expression sincere. "You just kept your cool when it counted the most." His words ignited a spark of something deeper within her, a sense of belonging she hadn't expected. "I was just doing what anyone would do," Maria replied, a blush creeping to her cheeks. "No, Maria. Not everyone would. You showed real strength," he insisted, his eyes earnest. In that moment, surrounded by the remnants of chaos, Maria felt a shift in their dynamic. She was no longer just an employee. Yet the warmth of that realization was soon shadowed by another wave of uncertainty. Would this moment change anything? Could it change how her colleagues perceived her? As the crowd began to disperse, the buzz of hushed tones returned, but this time it felt different. Maria caught fragments of words. Heroic, brave, impressive. She took a deep breath, allowing the implications of those reflections to settle within her. Alan turned to her, his expression serious yet soft. "You've got something special," he said quietly. "Don't ever doubt that." Maria's heart raced. Maybe she didn't need to seek acceptance in this new world through fear of judgment. Perhaps it could come through acts of positivity, courage, and connection. But as she contemplated this newfound strength, her thoughts drifted back to the whispers swirling around her, doubts creeping back in. Then Alan's phone buzzed insistently, breaking the moment. He glanced at it, frowned, and then looked back at her with a sense of urgency. "I need to take this," he said. "Can we talk later?" "Of course," she replied. But an unspoken apprehension lingered between them. What if the warmth of their connection faded into the mundane once he turned back to business? As he walked away, the heart of their earlier moment still crackling in the air, a question loomed in her mind. Was she ready to seize this newfound part of herself and stand firm against the doubts? Would she embrace the direction this path was taking her? As she gathered her thoughts, Maria looked around, searching for her colleague's eyes, hoping to read a hint of support. Instead, she found wary glances, a reminder that acceptance might still be a long way off. Could courage carve her a new path, or would the shadows of doubt pull her back into obscurity? And as the cafe settled into an uneasy quiet, Maria felt on the brink of yet another transformation, her mind buzzing with possibilities. What did the next act hold for her? Would she step forward into her own light? Or would she hesitate and let the moment slip away? Maria's heart raced as she stood in the now quiet cafe. What had started with a crisis was turning into a whirlwind of emotion. The sound of her colleagues muttering among themselves felt like a distant drone beneath the weight of her thoughts. She had thrust herself into the spotlight, and for a moment it felt good, but the spotlight brought with it new shadows, doubts creeping back into her mind. With Alan gone, Maria turned her focus away from the crowd and let her thoughts soar. She needed to reclaim the warmth that had momentarily enveloped her. She needed to tie the threads of her new self together. As the paramedics wheeled the man out, his eyes flicked over to her. He offered a weak smile that ignited a spark of determination within Maria. In the past, she would have let this moment fade into memory, a brief instance of courage mixed with hysteria. But not today. Today was different. As she moved toward the counter, she would not shrink into the background. She poured herself a cup of coffee, the rich aroma filling her lungs, invigorating her spirit. It was as if the act itself was a reminder small steps lead to larger changes. She took a sip, savoring the warmth against the chill of uncertainty. Steeling herself, Maria turned back to where her colleagues gathered, still lingering in the aftermath of what had unfolded. Some were whispering, others stealing glances at her like she was a character in a movie they were unsure about. "Hey, can we talk?" A voice cut through the ambient noise. It was Kelly, a colleague who had often tread the thin line between friendly and dismissive. Her tone was cautiously neutral, enough to raise Maria's suspicions. "Sure," Maria replied, her heart racing once more. They moved to the side, where the tension felt palpable. Kelly crossed her arms, looking Maria up and down. "That was something, huh?" she began, her gaze steady yet challenging. "Yeah, just did what felt right," Maria said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Right," Kelly said slowly, "but you've got to know it's not like you to jump into things. Are you feeling okay? That's not normal for you." A part of Maria wanted to retreat, to hide behind a wall of self-doubt as she had always done. Instead, she breathed deeply. "Maybe it's time for me to step out of my comfort zone." Kelly studied her for a moment, and something shifted in her eyes, A flicker of genuine surprise. I didn't know you felt that way. Maybe you surprised us all. With those words, Maria felt a crack in the doubts surrounding her. It wasn't just her taking a leap forward. It was invite others to join her journey of growth too. The tension rushed out of her. Next steps? Maria prompted. Gradually, I guess. But let us see how you fare in another situation. You can't just be a hero once and call it a day, Kelly said. An unexpected grin breaking the earlier hardness of her expression. Challenge accepted, Maria replied. A smile breaking her own facade as they talked. She felt the warmth return, a flicker of acknowledgement, perhaps even respect. But just as she found herself settling into her skin, the cafe door swung open with a creak, and in walked someone unexpected, Alan. His expression was serious, eyes scanning the crowd before locking onto her. Maria! He called sharply, cutting through her moment with Kelly. The abruptness sent a pulse of adrenaline through her veins. His face was taut, concern etched deep as he approached. You need to come with me, he said urgently. What's wrong? Maria's heart raced as she met his eyes. A weighty uncertainty growing within her. Was there another crisis brewing? Just trust me. It's about the man you helped, he said. His voice urgent but soft enough to hold her attention. Time itself felt suspended for Maria. Every possibility churned in her mind. Was this moment going to take her to a place she didn't expect? With each beat of her heart, she felt the gradual pull of impact. Would this lead her to the reconciliation she sought or plunge her deeper into uncertainty? Okay, she breathed, her breath mingling with her rising anticipation. Let us go. As they stepped out into the world beyond the cafe, a rush of potential surrounded her. The moment felt electric, teetering on the edge of something greater. What revelation awaited them just outside the cafe doors? Would it truly change everything she believed about herself? The brisk air hit Maria's face as she followed Alan out of the cafe. Faint sounds of the city buzzed around them, but her mind was racing. Her heart pounded with each hurried step, pulsing to the rhythm of adrenaline and uncertainty. What had the man she helped done? Was he all right? Alan guided her toward an alleyway, and she felt a bubble of anxiety grow in her chest. Yet, somewhere beneath it all was an ember of hope ignited by her earlier boldness. Today was different. Today she was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Just a few steps more, Alan said, glancing back at her. His expression tight yet focused. He was a presence she felt she could lean on, someone who had seen her at her most vulnerable moments and somehow still believed in her. When they reached the end of the alley, a small group of people stood huddled near an unmarked vehicle. Through the gathering dusk, Maria recognized familiar faces, some officers she had seen before, likely working a case, and beside them stood the hospital's social worker. A flicker of dread ignited as she realized this was more than just a casual check-in. Maria! The social worker, Lisa, called out to her, waving her over with a sense of urgency. You're just in time. We have some new information about the man you saved. Maria felt a mix of dread and excitement as she stepped closer. What has happened? Is he? Her voice trailed off, unable to voice the fear that churned within her. He is stable now, but there's something you need to know. Lisa's eyes were soft yet serious, as if she was holding a precious truth in her hands. The officers shifted uncomfortably, their expressions grave. One spoke up. Your quick thinking saved him, Maria. He wouldn't have made it if you hadn't stepped in. Thank you, she whispered, feeling an involuntary swell of pride and relief, knowing she had lived up to that day's challenge. Lisa continued, He'd like to meet you. I think hearing it from him would do you both good. Meet him? But why? Maria was momentarily taken aback. What could he possibly want? Her heart surged with anxiety once again, twisting with the concern of the unknown. Alan stepped forward, casting her a reassuring smile. You need to see the impact you've had. This isn't just about saving a life. It's about how lives touch one another along the way. It's profound. Taking a breath, Maria glanced at the inquiring faces around her. The encouragement of her colleagues had sparked something in her, but this felt entirely different. Should she be worried? Or should she embrace this chance to understand just how big her moment had truly been? Okay, Maria said finally, her voice steadied by a growing courage. Let us do this. As they approached the vehicle, the world around her narrowed, focusing on the man inside. He was sitting there, pale but awake, eyes filled with gratitude as they locked onto Maria's. "Thank you." Those two words escaped his lips, so simple yet heavy with meaning. Each syllable wrapped around her heart and squeezed, and that moment, Maria felt something shift deep within her. It was more than just a thank you, it was a bridge built between two lives. The storm of uncertainty inside her quieted, replaced by a powerful understanding of connection, of shared moments that could lead to transformation. Yet with this newfound understanding, other questions loomed. Would this encounter bring her the closure she sought? Or would it unveil even deeper emotions she had yet to confront? Alan's warm presence beside her felt like a tether. "I'll be right here," he assured her quietly as they stepped closer. What would this meeting reveal about the path Maria was on? Would it reaffirm her new courage or plunge her into the depths of her fears? Maria swallowed hard, her eyes still locked onto the man as he shifted slightly in his seat. His name was Sam, she remembered from the briefing she had caught the previous day. The glowing streetlights illuminated the worried lines on his face, but also the spark of gratitude that burned vividly in his eyes. He looked so fragile yet so full of life at the same time. "Sam," she whispered, still uncertain of the words to follow. This moment felt surreal, like standing before a mirror reflecting back her own soul as struggle and triumph. "Maria," he paused, taking a deep breath as though gathering strength. "I remember everything. You were there. You didn't hesitate." His voice cracked slightly, emotion surfacing beneath the surface. "Thank you for saving me." Hearing that stirred something deep inside her, an acknowledgement of her own worth. She felt the rawness of the situation coalesce into something vibrant. This wasn't just about a life saved. It was about courage, about her journey intersecting with his. As she started but paused, feeling overwhelmed by emotion. The words she wanted to say felt tangled in her throat. "It's okay, you don't have to say anything. Just your presence here means the world to me," Sam replied, his sincerity reaching her. Maria's chest tightened as she took a step closer. "I didn't know if what I did mattered or if you'd even be alive today." The vulnerability in her voice surprised her. She had always been the strong one, the problem solver, and now she was laid bare, unguarded. His gaze softened. "It mattered. More than you know. I was lost. And it took you, an absolute stranger, to pull me back. I can't explain how much that means." A silence settled between them, filled only by the sounds of distant traffic and the wind rustling the leaves above. In that hushed moment, Maria's heartbeat steadied. The knot of fear in her chest unraveled as she recognized that the unknown didn't have to be terrifying. Instead, it could be a place of connection and understanding. "Are you going to be okay now?" she asked, the concern in her tone genuine. "I will. With help. I have a lot of healing to do, but it starts here." He glanced around at the familiar faces, nodding at the officers and Lisa. "I'm lucky to have a second chance." Maria nodded, a warm smile creeping onto her face. "We all can heal one step at a time." Alan moved beside her. "We're really proud of you, Maria. This is what it means to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. You just need to remember that. It's okay to not have all the answers." Sam's eyes flashed with understanding. "You never know how one moment can change everything. Your one brave act can become 100, maybe even 1,000, Maria interjected, the realization dawning within her. There was power in moments like this. Power to overcome. As the evening deepened, she felt a profound shift, a swell of hope pushing through the complexity of her emotions. Something had been sparked, not just in her but in him too. "Are we ever truly alone?" she asked herself quietly as she turned to Alan, feeling the current of shared humanity thrumming between them. "Never," Alan replied confidently, his hand brushing against hers. "We carry each other, Maria. Even when we don't know it. You'll see." Would this marked moment of connection lead Maria to embrace her own healing journey? Or would she discover deeper challenges, hidden beneath the surface of her courage? As the night crept on, she knew one thing for certain. Her path was forever altered, and she was curious to see where it would lead. Maria walked slowly away from Sam, her heart fluttering with a mix of hope and uncertainty. The night air felt heavy with unsaid words, yet lighter somehow because of the connection they had shared. She glanced over her shoulder, catching Sam's eye one last time. He smiled back, that spark still shining bright. "Are you okay?" Alan asked, his voice rich with concern as they stepped into the quiet hallway. I think so, Maria replied, though she felt a whirlpool of emotions stirring within her. It's just, everything feels different now, you know? He nodded knowingly, and they wandered towards the small gathering room. A few officers were chatting, their voices a background melody to her thoughts. She felt a warmth spread through her chest at the sight of them, reminding her that she was not alone in this fight. She sat down at a large round table where one of the officers had just laid out some snacks. There were cookies, chips, and a pot of coffee. It felt odd, a strange juxtaposition to the weight of their circumstances. Yet, the casual gathering was comforting. The laughter and shared stories reminded her of home, of simpler times before everything had turned upside down. I can't stop thinking about him, she admitted, taking a cookie and leaning against the table. Sam. He seems so brave. But hurt. Ellen placed a gentle hand over hers. It's okay to feel heavy about it, Maria. You reached out when he needed it most, and now he's on a path to healing. You're not just helping him, you're helping yourself too. You realized your strength. That's powerful. She looked down at her hands still shaky, the fingernails chipped from stress. But what if I'm not enough? What if my strength fails when I encounter my own demons? Then you lean on others. That's what community is about. We lift each other up. His words brushed her heart like a warm wind. As she stared into the abyss of her coffee, Maria remembered the darkness she felt after everything had happened. She had thought she was a soldier, invincible in her resilience. But her heart was soft, pliable, and full of cracks. What if I break again? Then you mend, Ellen replied simply. Just like places that have been mended become stronger in the healed areas. His words floated around her like a blessing. She realized their conversation mirrored Sam's journey, a patchwork of healing, of vulnerability. You're right, she sighed, a small smile breaking through. It's scary, but it's necessary. With newfound resolve, she started thinking about what she could do to help others like Sam. There were support groups, community outreach programs, and even simpler acts of kindness that could ripple through her life. She imagined opening her heart wider, sharing her story with those who felt lost. Maybe I'll do something, she murmured, more to herself than to him. Maybe I can help people find their own strength. That's the spirit. Alan beamed, leaning back in his chair. Your fire is going to light a whole lot of others. Just remember to keep nurturing it, okay? His encouragement filled her with a warmth that sparked determination in her chest. She realized change was not just about what others could do. It was about what she could create within herself and her community. With that thought in mind, Maria stood up, purpose flooding through her. I want to make a difference not just for them but for me too. I can't wait to find a way. As her resolve grew, a feeling of anticipation bloomed within her. While the path ahead might be fraught with challenges, she felt invigorated by the prospect of discovery, of stepping deeper into a world where she could connect and heal. But as she took a deep breath, a shadow stole across her mind. A lurking fear remained unanswered. Would she be ready to face her own trials as she reached out to others? Maria had yet to discover how wide and deep her own healing could be. Would she crumble under the weight of her ambitions, or rise to embrace the true power of transformation? Maria felt her heart racing as she left the gathering room, the buzz of laughter fading behind her. Her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, swirling with hope and uncertainty. The world outside was drenched in moonlight, illuminating her path as she stepped into the crisp night air. She took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers. It was both calming and invigorating. She wandered toward the quiet corner of the precinct's garden. There, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and the night felt alive with potential. Maria wrapped her arms around herself, trying to hold in the swell of emotions. She remembered Sam's eyes, the way they sparkled with something she couldn't quite identify. Hope? Vulnerability? There was a power within him, and she longed to understand. She sat on a weathered bench, leaning back to feel the coolness of the wood against her skin. Her phone buzzed. Startled, she fished it out from her pocket. A text flashed on the screen, Sam's name lighting up in the dark. Hey Maria. I wanted to say thanks for being there tonight. You really uplifted me. Hope to see you again soon. Her heart skipped a beat. She smiled, warmth flooding through her. Words mattered. They were bridges connecting hearts. She quickly typed a response, her fingers flying over the screen. Anytime, Sam. I'm really glad we talked. You're stronger than you realize. Can't wait to see you again. As she hit send, a wave of adrenaline surged through her. Was she really ready to take that leap? This wasn't just about Sam anymore. It was about her journey as well. Suddenly, she felt a presence beside her. Alan had followed her outside, concern etched on his face. "Maria, you okay?" "Just thinking," she replied, the smile still lingering. "About everything. About how to help others. And myself." "Good," he nodded. "That's how it begins." With renewed determination, she shared her ideas about support groups, compassion projects, and everything else bubbling inside her. Alan listened, his gaze encouraging. As she spoke, she felt the shadows of doubt recede, replaced by a bright flicker of potential. "You're onto something big," he said. "Starting with your own story will resonate with so many people. They'll see a bit of themselves in you." "I hope so," she said thoughtfully. "But telling my story, what if it brings up old wounds?" "Then you heal them," he replied softly. "Just like the others. It's about being brave enough to share your truth." She held his gaze, feeling the depth of his understanding. Breaking down those walls around her heart felt daunting, but maybe, just maybe, it could lead to something extraordinary. As they stood up to head back inside, Maria felt a flash of instinct telling her this was just the beginning. She might face overwhelming moments ahead, but within her, there flickered the profound desire to make a difference. "Alan," she called out as they neared the door, a thought striking her. "What if I organized a community event? Something that brings people together?" His eyes lit up. "Now that's an idea. You could lead it, inspire others to share their stories. Could be incredible." "Yes." She clapped her hands with excitement, envisioning a gathering where stories flowed, connections blossomed, and hearts healed. But as the idea took root in her mind, another question crept in. Would anyone show up? They entered the precinct, the warmth of the gathering room calling to her. As others joined in the back-and-forth banter, Maria's mind buzzed with possibilities. Sharing stories could change lives. But would she have the courage to stand in front of those people and unveil her own? Maria sensed that her journey was unfolding, a path lined with both fears and hopes. As the warmth of laughter enveloped her, she wondered if the strength within her was ready to shine brightly amidst shadows still lingering. As Maria stepped back into the gathering room, the atmosphere felt electric. Laughter echoed off the walls, a blend of voices mingling together in a joyful symphony. But amidst the cheerful chaos, she found herself pausing, letting the warmth wash over her while her heart raced with anticipation. It was thrilling and terrifying both at once. She could still feel Alan's words echoing in her mind, the discussion of sharing her truth, of organizing an event. She glanced around, taking in familiar faces. Each person had a story. Each of them had faced battles, some hidden, some worn like badges. Did they feel it too? The lingering fears, the shared heaviness of unspoken words? Maria made her way to the corner of the room, grabbing a drink, lost in her thoughts. What if I am not enough? The question crept in uninvited. Looking down into her cup, she could see her reflection, a flicker of self-doubt flashing in her eyes. Would her voice resonate? Was she ready for this? "Are you okay?" It was Sam, standing beside her, brows furrowed in concern. Caught off guard, she met his gaze. "Yeah, just thinking about the event." His eyes sparkled with understanding. "That's a big step. But I know you'll do great." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You've already touched me by just being you. People want to hear what you have to say." Maria felt a warm flush creeping into her cheeks. "I want to help, but..." She hesitated, searching for the right words. "I don't want to drag up painful memories." "Pain can lead to healing," he said, his voice steady. "If we share our stories, we share our burdens." His reassurance wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, silencing her fears for a moment. "You may not realize it, but being brave isn't just about the big moments. It's also in these small exchanges that we find strength." As they spoke, Maria's mind shifted from doubt to possibility. Could she truly be a catalyst for change? The thought ignited a spark within her. Maybe I can host a storytelling session. Just a few people at first to test the waters. I love that idea. His enthusiasm was infectious. You could call it Voices Unplugged. It sounds inviting, and it means a lot to be honest without the noise of everyday life. Yes, it has a nice ring to it. The momentum was building, and with each word exchanged, Maria felt a sense of clarity. Just then, Alan rejoined them, a cup of coffee in hand. Hey, what is this about voices and storytelling? Planning something amazing, Maria replied, excitement bubbling over. We want to start small, create a platform for people to share their experiences raw and real. That's what this place needs, Alan nodded, his expression proud. Count me in. I can help with logistics. I know people who would be eager to join in. They shared ideas and dreams, the room around them ebbed and flowed with laughter and connection, and Maria's spirit soared. In that space she wasn't alone. She felt the strength of community gathered around her. But beneath that exhilaration lingered a small chronic fear. What if the event didn't resonate? What if they opened their hearts and were met with silence? As Maria looked around the room again, absorbing the smiles and friendships blossoming, one thing became evident. She was no longer just a bystander. She was part of something bigger. Let us put a date on the calendar, Sam challenged. Let us make this real. Maria felt every heartbeat synchronize with newfound purpose, but doubts whispered in the back of her mind. As the laughter continued to dance around her, she knew this was just the beginning. But when faced with sharing her truth, would she be able to step into the light, or would fear pull her back into the shadows? The weight of that question lingered, planting a seed of curiosity that demanded to be explored next. Maria stood in the center of the gathering room, the laughter and chatter surrounding her like a warm hug. Every story shared, every connection made added to the swell of anticipation within her. She had chosen to embrace her vulnerability, to welcome the power of sharing her journey not just for herself but for others like Sam, for those unseen stories yearning to be told. When Alan clapped his hands to gather everyone's attention, Maria felt her pulse quicken. All right, everyone. We're brewing something exciting here, he called, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. It's not just coffee brewing, Sam chimed in with a grin. It's all of us ready to share our voices. Boosted by their energy, Maria stepped forward, her heart steadying as she gathered her thoughts. I want to create a safe space where we can connect through storytelling. We've all faced our battles, and through sharing we can uplift each other. A collective murmur of agreement floated through the room, lifting her hope. It felt different now, like each person was not just an observer, but a contributor to a greater narrative. Sharing a glance with Alan, who nodded with supportive pride, she took a deep breath and pressed on. I want to call this gathering Voices Unplugged. It'll be a chance for us to express ourselves raw, real and unfiltered. We can start with one session and see where it goes. The idea sparked excitement. The atmosphere crackled with potential. Count me in, Kelly, a former skeptic turned ally, announced. I'd love to share. Others chimed in, eager to sign up, their smiles radiating. The room transformed into a chorus of affirmation, wrapping around Maria like a glowing veil. As their planning unfolded, Maria felt waves of reassurance wash over her. The doubt that once plagued her began to fade like a shadow chased away by the dawn. Even the whispers of worry nagging at her spirit turned into sparks of inspiration. She realized the deeper she delved into her own story, the more liberated she became. With each participant lining up to share their thoughts, the event felt more real. This is happening, she breathed quietly, relishing the sweet thrill bubbling in her chest. But even with that elation, a flicker of doubt remained. What if it didn't resonate? What if vulnerability met silence? If we hit bumps, we fix them, Alan reassured her, squeezing her shoulder gently. You're not alone in this, Maria. If we fall, we rise together. His faith in her lit a torch of determination within, and she looked around, taking in the warm faces ready to unify their stories. The sun dipped low, wrapping the world outside in hues of gold and purple as the team wrapped up their brainstorming. When people began to disperse, laughter lingering, Maria felt at peace. She had taken a step toward a transformation that was no longer hers alone. As she tidied up the room, she caught Sam lingering, waiting for a chance to speak. Hey, he said, leaning against the wall. I wanted to say your passion is contagious. I believe in what you're doing. It matters. A wave of gratitude washed over Maria. It resonated deeply. Thank you, Sam. I've realized that our shared moments, small or big, can heal wounds in ways we never imagined. With their eyes locked, she recognized the brightness behind his gaze. It mirrored her own growing confidence. Together we'll make a difference, he replied, his voice steady and reassuring. Maria felt the connection surpass their individual struggles. It was bigger, transforming hesitations into unwavering resolve. As the night sky blanketed the city, their conversation weaved in and out, wrapping around the excitement of what was to come. The gathering had just been the first step toward a journey that promised to be richly transformative for all involved. Days turned into weeks, and the momentum built. Her excitement grew with each conversation, cultivating a sense of community and connection filling her heart to the brim. The day of Voices Unplugged approached, and she stood at the cusp of something profound. But as she prepared her heart for her own story, Maria wondered anew, would she truly find the courage to share her journey? Would she pull threads from her past and weave them into a tapestry of strength? When the moment finally arrived, would she be seen just as she was, without fear? The clock ticked down to showtime, and Maria felt the air tingle with anticipation. She could hear the chatter of her colleagues, friends, and newfound supporters gathering. They were all there, ready to share, ready to listen. As she approached the makeshift stage, hands shaking slightly, she recognized the warmth of community gathering to support her. This was it. She was ready to step into the light, embrace her truth, and let the world in on her journey, the wins, the losses, and everything in between. Taking a deep breath, Maria could finally say with certainty, "I am here." This was her moment, a beautiful intersection of love, resilience, and hope. The audience's eyes met hers, eager and engaging. She felt the spark of connection coursing through her, igniting the flames of change. This is where her heart would throw open the doors to transformation, not just for herself but for everyone who dared to dream, to lean on one another, to share their human stories. At that moment, she knew there was nothing to fear. Strength doesn't only come from within. It's born in connection, in shared experiences. And she could feel it resonating all around her. The journey was just beginning, and as she stepped onto the path, Maria felt ready to embrace the adventure of a lifetime. You need to subscribe now to never miss these transformative stories. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others find their way. Leave your reactions and thoughts in the comments below. Share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message of hope and healing. Don't wait not even one more second to share.